Everybody, thanks for watching, and just a quick reminder that the next 5 books in the Biblical Bible series is now available. That would be 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, and Nehemiah, all available right now. Anybody that's waiting for books still, as I mentioned before, we had some logistical issues, some problems with the shipping and everything, but that has been resolved. You guys should be getting emails about your shipping, and your tracking number and everything should be sent to you guys. Anybody who does not have their book by the 12th, you will receive a full refund, as well as you'll still get the book. It was a lot of stuff that was out of our control. Now things are back within our control. So you guys should all have your books. Whoever orders before today, or ordered before today, will have their books by the 12th. If you don't have it by the 12th, as I said, you'll get a full refund for the purchase of the book, and you'll still receive the book. Now, I also want to announce that the book is officially for sale now, since everything with the legal issues have been resolved. They have been fixed. There's nothing holding us back from the remaining books. As I said, it's still limited. I expect it to sell out, so these remaining copies, definitely want to get them fast. But they are now available for sale right now. Also, this will be the last time you can purchase for the Don't Pay Again sale, as well as for the lifetime membership. Once this sale is up, that is it. The new year will start. It's going to be an entirely different Merkabah Academy site. The new changes are coming to the site. The app will be available in about 2 weeks. Finally, it's going to be done, 2 weeks or less. And it's a lot coming. I've been super busy. Some legal issues, IRS issues, stuff I had to take care of. And good thing about it is lost about 35 pounds. So it's some good news. But all the stuff is resolved. A lot more coming. A lot more videos coming to YouTube and coming to Merkabah Academy. There's a lot of stuff coming to Merkabah Academy that we have been working on. So stay tuned for all of that. But in this video, I wanted to really get into, because so many people are new to the Biblical Bible series. A lot of people just think the series is about going through each book and just reading it. But no, it's breaking down the esoteric meanings of the books, as well as explaining, what's actually being said and the hidden meaning behind a lot of the stories. The Bible has a lot of interesting stories, and there's a lot of stuff that's happening now that you can read in the Bible. And as you'll see, as we talk about in the book of Ezra, the book of Nehemiah, stuff that's happening now, we know that Cyrus the Great is in the Bible, but you want to ask yourself, why are they comparing Trump to Cyrus the Great? Why does Trump have a coin with him and Cyrus the Great on it? So we tackle that in these videos. And there's a lot of stuff you got to see and understand about the Bible and what's being said, and why at this time now, what we're seeing in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah is coming to pass in this time. So we get into a lot of that stuff in this series and these next 5 books. But it's important to understand what the books is talking about, from Genesis on up. Now, I talked about an ancient history series about, the Greeks conquering the Egyptians. We all know this. But I also expressed how you have the Greeks get with the Persians to show the Persians basically what they need to do to conquer the Egyptians. But it's deeper than this. And believe it or not, this is covered in the Bible. You have to look at the fact that in the Bible, they are mixing in the Hebrews with actual, figures from history, like Cyrus the Great, like Darius, like Artaxerxes. And it's a reason for this, that right around this time they're mixing in, expressing this stuff to pertain to the Jews. It's in real life pertaining to the Greeks, as I talked about in the Ancient History series, that the Hebrews that they're talking about in the Bible in the Old Testament are in fact the Greeks. The wars that they fight in the Bible are the wars that the Greeks fought in their conquering. It's not a coincidence that this stuff parallels, and you see in the Bible that when it's talking about the Hebrews, you can go back and look in actual time and see that, well, we can't find no Hebrews doing this stuff, but the only thing we can find similar is what the Greeks have done as far as fighting all these wars. And as I'll show you in Ezra, this is what it's talking about. So a lot of people don't know that before the conquest of the Persian Empire conquering Egypt, that the Greeks had treaties with the Persians. A lot of people don't know that. They had multiple treaties with the Persians, meaning that they were in good standing with the Persians before the Persians conquered Egypt. Think about that. It's a huge conflict of interest when it comes to the Egyptians, supposedly having this whole, camaraderie with the Greeks, and then they stab us in the back. All of that is covered in the Old Testament. Everything that they've done to get to where they at, they are breaking it down in the Old Testament and, hiding it as if this is Hebrew, Jew accomplishments when it's really Greek, plain and simple. So I talked about the book Hebrew is Greek by Dr. Joseph Yehuda. It's a lot of stuff that it's covering that we're seeing today, and a lot more we're going to see as we go on into the Bible. But it's interesting now that we see this comparison with Trump and Cyrus, king of Persia. And as I said, when we go through this, you're going to understand why a lot more. But to explain further, the books that we're going to be talking about, we're going to go through every book, by the way. But what we're going to be talking about in the Bible is going to break down stuff like this. I talked about in Genesis, the esoteric meaning of how, it's talking about the body, it's talking about the creation of our energy in our bodies, and how Adam is the atom and everything like that. We explain about the Exodus and how, the Jews were created. And then I'm going to explain to you in Ezra and 2 Kings how the Persians was created and how the Arabs was created to do exactly what they've done. So they have to explain exactly how they injected themselves into history, like how they have to really explain how around this time that you have the Persians conquering, the Babylonians conquering, so on and so forth, that we don't find no Jews. So we heard about the Babylonian exile with the Jews. God, after hundreds of years finally said, I'm fed up and I'm finally going to exile you people, for a long time and scatter you. Just so happens that the exact same time, the Syrian Empire is conquering, and Cyrus, king of Persia, what have you, takes control of Israel. Now they have to explain why during this time there is no Hebrews, in Israel. And then when they do come, you got to explain how this king of Persia, who just conquered all of this land and controlling what we call Israel, how is he allowing you guys to go and spread Judaism? How are you able to travel? So, of course, the Bible tells you that God put a spirit on them, so on and so forth. We're going to get into all this in this series. You got to understand how they're trying to, and in these next books, they're trying to fit themselves into history, and we're breaking down how in the next books. But you also have to think about we know the Greeks conquering the Egyptian Empire, conquering the Persians. We know eventually the Romans would come and conquer the Greeks. So it's not a coincidence, of course. We have the creation of Judaism. We have the Greeks spreading the stuff, creating it, as I've proven. And then all of a sudden you have the Romans pick up on everything that's Greek. The Roman gods parallel the Greek gods, parallel the Egyptian gods. Then they continue Hellenization. What is that? So it's like, okay, they just took what the Greeks did and just continued it on, seemingly. Or maybe they was the Greeks the whole time. Maybe the Romans and the Greeks is just the same exact people, which is white people. So you got to understand that they have been creating these armies and establishing these civilizations for conquest. That's what they was, made to do. So as I explained to you guys, if you have a relationship with the Egyptians, the Greeks did, how are you going to conquer the Egyptians when you have the Greek people wanting to learn from these ancient Egyptians? You can't build the army being the Greeks when you have Egyptians in your territory and the people actually wanting to learn from the Egyptians. So you have to do what they have done today. You have to always make sure there's a threat. So they created the threat. So the threat would be the Persians. Persians comes in, conquers the Egyptians, and then they basically hand over the empire to the Greeks. And they tell us it's a whole war. But as we've read, Alexander didn't even step foot in Egypt before they finished conquering the Persians. So it was real easily done. So we're going to get into all that. And it's like, okay, well, then you have, and this was the Athenians at this time. Before the Macedonians. You have the Athenians ruling, and the Athenians having this relationship with the Persians. But as I'll explain, how was it that the Athenians nor the Spartans looked up to Macedonia, which is right to the north, and noticed that the Macedonians was amassing this huge empire and army that was bigger than theirs? And of course, if you know the history, the Athenians and the Spartans wasn't on the same page. And you will also find out one of the Persians was funding both sides of the war. That was funding the Spartans and funding the Athenians. Think about that. So it's a lot of history, and this is the Bible. The Bible is breaking this down. The prophecies that we're going to see in Daniel is going to give validity to all this once we get to the book of Daniel. But it's a lot. I mean, it's so much that's in the Old Testament. A lot of stuff that's coming up. A lot of stuff that has passed. But it's breaking down and explaining how they got to where they are and how they're going to finagle their way into history. So these next 5 books is really exciting. A lot of information, a lot of thoughts connected, a lot of stuff that I left out in the ancient history series specifically for this reason, because I knew they was going to come up in a biblical Bible series. So I wanted to tackle them here. So it's a lot of stuff that's going to make a lot more sense at this point, once we start getting into these books. And it's a lot of stuff, as you'll see, coming up in the Old Testament that connects the dots. And it's a lot more information you're going to get. And the Bible, it's one of the things about this series, the Bible is going to be explained and revealed in a lot better way than any preacher will ever do for you. And don't get caught up in the stories. Plain and simple. That's one of the things you got to understand. The stories, as I'll show you, means a lot of different things. This whole thing with Cyrus, of course, most of it is made up. We know about the stelas that they have, supposedly with the inscriptions. With the black stone, you have the inscription of supposedly Jehu, which we talk about in the series. Jehu is this description of Jehu, or this depiction of supposedly Jehu, is the only depiction of an actual Hebrew or ancient Hebrew. What they say in the black stone is a depiction of him. And Salamander, we'll get into all that in the series as well in these next 5 books. So it's a lot you got to understand. And it's a lot that they're putting out here. If you are a Bible scholar, and you'll begin to understand this, you'll understand why a lot of people believe this stuff is true and real. Because if you are a scholar and you really start digging into this biblically, the biblical stuff, not the real stuff, then you're going to believe it. Now, don't get me wrong, you got to know some of the real stuff to actually understand this stuff. But you don't have to dig too deep to believe it. So when you comparing people, or when you putting people like Cyrus the Great, when you putting people like Salamander and Darius and all these guys in the Bible, and then you're making it fit like it's an actual history, and people are not actually going to go do the research and look and see how it's bullshit, then they're going to believe it. And they pass this stuff off as actual history. It'll pop up like this is real history. This stuff really happened, when there's no proof. We get into Herodotus a lot, because Herodotus did many writings on the Persians. He died, I think, like the year after Artaxerxes, and he wrote extensively about the Persian people. Didn't mention any Jews or Hebrews. So we'll talk about this, and we get into all that. But the Biblical Bible series is something you definitely want to get into. It's going to be 66 books, of course. Every book we'll go into. Definitely start catching up, which I made a sell for you guys to catch up, and you don't have to worry about buying all of them individually if you take advantage. But it's definitely, if you want to know what's going on with the Bible and how, one, you can't just say it's a bullshit book, not no more. And you can't just brush it off as nothing, because as I talked about with universal law, they had to give us this truth, and there is truth in the Bible when you know how to break down the parables. So this is what we do. So definitely get into the series, and I appreciate everybody. I've been getting your emails and trying to read as many emails as I can. A lot of people is excited about the series. A lot of people have been watching and definitely giving me some good questions. But next 5 books is here, and if you really want to know what's going down and how this stuff really breaks down and the esoteric meaning of it, definitely get into the series and catch up, especially these next 5 books. A lot of information. But as I said, so anyone who orders the book today, you should have it within between 3 to 9 days, depending on where you live at. It should be 3 to 9 days, no more than that. We are definitely ready to go with shipping, and definitely going to be a faster turnaround than before. As I said, there was a lot of problems that we had to get resolved. When you don't control the whole logistical process, especially now with this whole publishing process, it's been a pain in the ass. It's been real stressful. But I apologize to you guys for the long wait, but it's going to be worth the wait. Trust me, the book is amazing. And we had presentation boxes. So some of you guys will get presentation boxes, some will not. Because if I order more, it takes like so long for them to come, and you guys wait long enough. So some will get them, some will not. But you guys will see a lot more coming, and a lot more coming to the site, Merkabah Academy. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and thanks to everybody who's been supporting, and thanks for your patience and support as well. And I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.